Hello students, now in this video we are going to learn the second part of the lesson, Applications of Biotechnology. First we are going to learn about molecular diagnostics. Early diagnosis of disease is very essential for appropriate treatment. We have to detect the disease at the earliest so that we will not be affected by the disease more. So early detection of the disease saves life. Early detection of the disease was not possible using conventional diagnostic methods. Why? Because the presence of the pathogens like virus, bacteria, etc. can be detected only when the pathogen produces symptoms in the patients. Symptoms occurs only when the number of pathogens are high in the patient's body. And so early detection of the disease was not possible. But now, even when the number of pathogens are very less, at very low concentration of these pathogens in the patient's body, and when the symptoms were not appearing, the disease can be detected by amplification of their nucleic acid. What are these diagnostic procedures? We are going to learn about ELISA test and PCR test in this lesson. First one, ELISA. ELISA means enzyme linked immunosorbent assay. It is a biochemical procedure which was discovered by Eva Engvall and Peter Perlmanin in 1971. This is to detect the presence of specific antibodies or antigens in the sample of the patient, like serum or urine, etc. This becomes a very important diagnostic tool to detect and determine whether the person is HIV positive or negative. ELISA is a tool to determine serum antibody concentration. The antibodies are produced in the infected person in the blood and they appear in the serum. Similarly, the HIV antibodies are also detected for their presence in the patient's blood. This ELISA test is also used for detecting the presence of specific antigen and hormones such as human chorionic gonadotropin. Now the diagnosis of HIV. During the diagnosis, the sample from the patient is taken and it is fixed on the surface of an ELISA plate. The sample that contains antigens are immobilized on the surface of the ELISA plate. Then to this antibody which is specific to this antigen is added, and this is allowed to react with the immobilized antigen which are already fixed on the ELISA plate. The antibody is linked to the appropriate enzyme like peroxidase. The unreacted antibodies will be washed away and the substrate of the enzyme, that is hydrogen peroxide, is added to it along with certain reagents such as chloronaphthol. This activity, the activity of this enzyme, will yield a colored product. This will indicate the presence of the antigen in the serum. The intensity of the color is directly proportional to the amount of the antigen present in the sample. So ELISA is highly sensitive and it can detect the antigens even in the range of nanograms. So here is the antigen which is washed and specific antibody will be added to this antigen. Again it will be washed. Then add enzyme conjugated secondary antibody. So enzyme which is attached to a secondary antibody is added to this. Again it is washed for the excess antigen which are not binding will be washed away. Then to this a substrate which is linked with the enzyme is added to measure the color. So antibody will capture the antigen, it is fixed. Along with that, enzyme linked detection antibody will be added and the excess remaining will be removed, and so the number of antigen that is present in the sample will be equal to the number of antibody that is binding to this. So when the substrate with the enzyme is added, this will make the color change and gives a colored product. The intensity of the color will determine the amount of infection. Now the types of ELISA. There are 4 types of ELISA. They are direct ELISA, indirect ELISA, sandwich ELISA and competitive ELISA. So ELISA tests are highly sensitive and they are specific method used for diagnosis. They possess added advantages because they do not require any isotopes, radioisotopes or a radiation counting apparatus.
ELISA is a commonly used format for serologic testing. The purpose of this animation is to explain how this test works. ELISA serologies are usually done in multi-well microtiter plates so that dilutions of serum can be easily prepared and tested. To better understand how this assay is done, let's take a closer look at what happens in one of the wells of this assay plate. To perform the assay, the wells of the plate are coated with the antigen of interest. For commercial tests, this would be done by the manufacturer of the assay. To begin testing, the wells are filled with dilutions of the patient's serum. If antibodies against the antigen are present, they will bind to the antigen fixed to the bottom of the wells. But only antigen-specific antibodies will bind to the wells. The wells are then washed out to remove all unbound antibodies. Next, a solution of an animal antibody against human antibodies is added. This second antibody is covalently conjugated to an enzyme. The wells are washed again, this time to remove any unbound enzyme-conjugated antibody. Finally, a solution of a colorogenic enzyme substrate is added. The interaction of the substrate with the enzyme on the second antibody generates visible color. The development of color in the wells with a specific antibody can be seen with the naked eye or quantified with an electronic plate reader. The reaction is less intense as the serum is diluted and the amount of antibody captured in the wells decreases.
The next diagnostic method that we are going to learn is PCR. PCR for polymerase chain reaction. Polymerase chain reaction is an in vitro amplification technique that is used for synthesizing multiple identical copies of DNA, which means many copies of the given DNA segment is made out of the cell. DNA is present inside the nucleus of the cell. It is taken out of the cell and many copies are produced with the help of this PCR technique. And this was first developed by Kary Mullis in the year 1983. PCR technique consists of 3 stages. They are denaturation, renaturation or primer annealing, and the third one synthesis or primer extension. First, the double stranded DNA of interest is taken. It is subjected to denaturation. It is denatured to separate into 2 individual strands by high temperature, and this process is called as denaturation. Each strand is then allowed to hybridize with a primer. This green color structure is the primer, DNA primer. So this hybridization of the DNA strand with the primer, DNA primer, is called as renaturation or primer annealing. The primer template will be used to synthesize the DNA by using Taq DNA polymerase. During this denaturation, the reaction mixture is heated to 95 degrees Celsius for a short time, and this will facilitate the denaturation of the target DNA. Then each strand of this DNA will become a template for the next process. Annealing is done by rapid cooling, and it will allow the primer to attach itself to bind itself to the sequence of each of the two strands, and they attach themselves to the sides of the two strands. During this primary extension, again the temperature of the mixture will be increased up to 75 degrees Celsius for a sufficient period of time to allow this TOC DNA polymerase to extend the primer on each of this DNA template. At the end of the incubation, both the single stranded DNA will be made into double stranded partially. The new strand of each double stranded DNA will extend to a variable distance downstream. Then this step is repeated again and again to generate multiple copies of the desired DNA. This process is called as DNA amplification. The PCR technique can also be used for amplification of RNA. In this case, it is referred to as reverse transcriptase PCR. In the amplification of the RNA molecules, the mRNA must be converted into complementary DNA, that is cDNA, using an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. This complementary DNA or cDNA will then serve as the template for the RT-PCR.
Polymerase chain reaction, or PCR, uses repeated cycles of heating and cooling to make many copies of a specific region of DNA. First, the temperature is raised to near boiling, causing the double-stranded DNA to separate or denature into single strands. When the temperature is decreased, short DNA sequences known as primers bind or anneal to complementary matches on the target DNA sequence. The primers bracket the target sequence to be copied. At a slightly higher temperature, the enzyme Taq polymerase, shown here in blue, binds to the primed sequences and adds nucleotides to extend the second strand. This completes the first cycle. In subsequent cycles, the process of denaturing, annealing, and extending are repeated to make additional DNA copies. After 3 cycles, the target sequence defined by the primers begins to accumulate. After 30 cycles, as many as 1 billion copies of the target sequence are produced from a single starting molecule.
Now we are going to learn PCR in clinical diagnosis. Inherited disorders or the genetic diseases, viral diseases, bacterial diseases, etc. are diagnosed using this PCR method. PCR method is also useful for diagnosing diseases, inherited diseases in the prenatal fetus by using chorionic villi samples or the cells from the amniocentesis. Amniocentesis we have already learned, it is by testing the cells which are shredded in the placenta in the amniotic fluid from the fetus is taken out and it is tested through PCR method for the prenatal diagnosis of the inherited diseases. Other than that, sickle cell anemia, beta thalassemia and phenylketonuria can be detected by PCR method. The complementary DNA from the PCR is very highly valuable tool for the diagnosis and monitoring of the retroviral infections because direct DNA samples are not available for this retroviruses. Tuberculosis, which is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, is also tested through this PCR method. Cervical cancers, which is caused by the papilloma virus, can be detected by PCR method. PCR method is also used to detect sex-linked disorders in the fertilized embryos itself. Currently, the RT-PCR test is also utilized for conducting the COVID-19 diagnosis test. Applications of PCR. PCR is important in the study of evolution and phylogenetics. PCR can even amplify a minute quantity of DNA from any of the source like hair, mummified tissues, bones or any fossilized material. It is very much helpful in the forensic department. So PCR method is useful for the identifications of the criminals of the criminal acts. PCR is also used for the amplification of the specific DNA segment that can be used in the gene therapy. Next topic is transgenic animals. Transgenesis. It is a process of introduction of a foreign desired gene into the genome of an animal. This is to create and maintain the stable, desirable heritable character in that race. The foreign DNA that is introduced into the animal is called as transgene, and the animal that is produced by DNA manipulation is called as transgenic animals, or genetically engineered or genetically modified organisms, GMOs. Now the various steps that are involved in the production of transgenic animals. First one, we need to identify and separate the desired gene from the organism. Then we need to select a vector, which is normally a virus, for combining the desired gene with the vector. It can also be done by direct transmission. Then this combined desired gene with the vector is introduced into the cells, tissues, embryo or mature individuals. Then the expression of the foreign gene in the transgenic tissue or animal is demonstrated. What are the uses of transgenesis? Transgenesis becomes a powerful tool in the study of gene expression. It helps to improve the genetic characters in the animals. Transgenic models are available for many human diseases such as cancer, Alzheimer's disease, cystic fibrosis, rheumatoid arthritis, sickle cell anemia. Transgenic animals are used to produce useful proteins. Transgenic mice are used for testing the safety of the vaccines, and they are also used to test the toxicity in animals. Transgenesis becomes an important tool for improving quality and quantity of milk, meat, eggs and wool production, in addition to testing the drugs which are designed for treating diseases. The biological products that are produced out of biotechnology and their uses. The biological product is a substance that is derived from a living organism which is used for the prevention or treatment of diseases. This includes antitoxins, bacterial or viral vaccines, blood products and hormone extracts. Many types of biological products produced for our use. They are therapeutic proteins, monoclonal antibodies and vaccines. Hormones and antibodies are produced commercially for medical industry. Recombinant hormones like insulin, growth hormone, recombinant vaccine, recombinant proteins like human alpha-lactalbumin are also produced out of biotechnology and are available today for use. Next we are going to learn about animal cloning. Cloning is the process of producing genetically identical individuals of an organism, either by natural method or artificially. Clones will resemble each other and all their genes also will be similar to each other. Dolly was the first mammal that was cloned by Ian Wilmot and Campbell. Dolly was developed in the year 1997 by a process called nuclear transfer technique and the phenomenon of totipotency. For this, they have first isolated the mammary gland udder cell from a donor sheep which was having the black face, and it was isolated. This was subjected to starvation for 5 days, by which it entered a dormant stage. It will not enter into normal growth cycle after starvation, and it becomes totipotent. Then an ovum or egg cell was taken from another Eve or female sheep with white face. Its nucleus was removed and it is inserted into the udder cell. So the cytoplasm of the black-faced sheep was combined with the egg nucleus of the white-faced sheep. The fused cell was implanted into another sheep, which is served as the surrogate mother. After 5 months, Dolly was born. Dolly was the first clone that was made from the somatic cell of an adult animal without the process of fertilization. What are the advantages of the cloning animals? Cloning often benefits clinical trials and medical research. It helps in the production of the proteins and drugs in the field of medicine. Cloning aids in the stem cell research. Animal cloning also helps to save some endangered species. What are the disadvantages of cloning animals? Animals and human activists see that it becomes a threat to biodiversity, and the process is tedious and very expensive. They have to waste a lot of egg cells and the udder cells. The cloned animals were affected. Ian Wilmot and Campbell have removed 277 cells from the udder cell, and they fused with the 277 unfertilized egg cells. So after culturing the embryo for 6 days, only one was able to develop into Dolly. And so it becomes very expensive and animals also suffer. Cloned animals are affected with diseases. They are highly susceptible. They have high mortality rate also. It might compromise human health by the consumption of the cloned animal meat. And cloned animals age faster than the normal animals, and they are less healthier. Cloning can also lead to the occurrence of the genetic disorders in animals, and more than 90% of the cloning attempts fail to produce the viable offsprings.